The Editor-in-Chief is live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, kia ora, good morning, folks. I'm Duncan, Garner. Welcome to the program. This is Editor-in-Chief Live, and it's always great to have your company. Let me hear from you this morning, 0800 863 293. How hard is it to nail down a driver licensing test in New Zealand today? Have you got your appointment lately? Are you being pulled from pillar to post, and is this impossible? What are the delays like? So get in touch with me, 0800 863 293. You can text me as well, 3598. We are live across social media this morning. We're on Rover, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Facebook. We're live across all of those. Leave us a comment, get involved, and have your say. Should we erect a life-size statue of Georgina Beyer in Carterton at a cost of $500,000? There's a twist to this. Wait till you hear this. Right now, though, it is news time, and here's MediaWorks Deputy News Editor Grace Cocker. Good morning.
A faulty door latch and a pair of overalls are thought to have caused a helicopter crash in Wanaka, which killed 3. Gary Denver has more.
The aircraft was carrying the pilot and 2 conservationists when it crashed and caught fire in 2018. The Transport Accident Investigation Commission believes the left door hatch opened within 14 seconds of takeoff. A piece of clothing was then sucked out into the tail rotor. Investigators say the risks associated with door openings during flights have been normalised but should be considered dangerous.
The Retirement Commissioner is proposing some tweaks to KiwiSaver. Jane Wrightson has made 15 recommendations after a comprehensive review, including lifting the default rate to 4%, with employers matching that. She also wants government contributions to those on paid parental leave to be extended, especially to those who cannot continue to make payments. The US-backed peace proposal for Gaza is hanging by a thread. Hamas has demanded changes, but Secretary of State Antony Blinken insists it's not dead in the water yet.
Based on what we've seen and what I've discussed with the Prime Minister and what we've discussed with our Egyptian colleagues, we're determined to try to bridge the gaps.
The Prime Minister is comfortable with the rules around accommodation allowances for MPs. It follows members from both sides of the House being questioned about their claiming of it. Christopher Luxon says MPs do work long hours.
They work until 10, 11, midnight, often while they're in Parliament. They're expected to be back there at 7, 7:38 the next morning. So I don't think that's unreasonable.
Denmark has recalled several instant noodle products made in South Korea because they're too spicy. It claims the capsaicin levels in Samyang's 3 fiery ramen flavours are so high they could actually poison consumers. In sport, Blues coach Vern Cotter is backing lock Sam Derry to fill the void of captain Patrick Tuipulotu in tomorrow's Super Rugby semi-final against the Brumbies at Eden Park.
I think he's starting to see a bit of an edge to his game. He stepped up this year. I've been really happy with him.
In Rugby League with Machinery House, Wallabies first 5, Carter Gordon's confirmed a code switch to NRL team the Titans. And a must-win game for the Black Caps at the T20 World Cup today. They face hosts the West Indies from 12:30. That's news and sport.
Okay, Grace, good to have you in. The KiwiSaver changes, interesting. They're quite controversial too, because going to 4% and with matching it with your employer, that's more money for employers to give to us. They won't like it. Employers don't like it. Force them to give us money.
No, and I think the paid parental leave one's quite interesting.
Yes.
That'll perk a lot of, there'll be a few eyebrows raised there about how that rolls out.
Yeah, those hot noodles. Ever done it?
Oh my gosh, I can't handle spicy food.
Neither can I.
My husband sometimes honestly makes like a pot separate when we cook spicy, so his is nice and hot. He loves getting the sweats on.
My son did it a number
I
of
find
years ago.
sparkling water spicy, you know.
My son, actually, me too. My son did it and almost died. You know, he was just like,
Oh, one of those capsaicin,
you know the ones,
spicy, ghost peppers,
Shockers.
whatever they call them.
They're the ones.
No,
yeah.
thank you.
Should have seen him climbing the walls.
Absolutely not. Big no.
Garner.
Okay, good to have your company, folks. Right, 0800 863 293. Are you being jerked around when it comes to sitting your driver licence test? And I want to start this with an email that I have received, and it goes like this. Hi, Duncan. I want to cut to the chase. Have you had feedback re huge delays to thousands of young people getting driver's licences due to VTNZ cancelling appointments? Many are waiting years to sit this stuff. My daughter has waited. Tonight, she's just been told her appointment is tomorrow. It's been cancelled because VTNZ's unforeseen circumstances. But rather than reschedule the next day, they've said that we have to wait now another 17 days. So without a licence, she can't work. 17 days is about $2,000 worth of work for her. She represents New Zealand for gymnastics, and training finishes 10 p.m. at night. She can't drive home. 17 days is too long. She's already waited. To cancel and reschedule 17 days away is bullshit. I need someone like you to help me sort this out. Cheers, Jonathan. So I do hear this a lot, and yes, in some cases people are waiting up to 4 months, 5 months, and it impacts people everywhere, but especially those young builders who can't work and they can't get to their rural communities that rely on being able to drive long distances. to access school, work and even doctors. Unlike their big city counterparts, they can't access public transport. And the places they need to get to are far, far away. You see, these delays are costing them work hours, education, you name it, they're missing out. So, Jonathan, your daughter is one of these people, many, many people. And it doesn't look like Waka Kotahi is going to be able to sort this out in a hurry. So what's the solution? REAPS is a rural education activities program and knows firsthand what the impact is for these people. They've been out in small towns for about 50 years, helping people get their licences. Director of REAPS, Tracy Shepherd, joins me now. Tracy, who knew you existed? But bloody hell, it's good to see you and welcome to the program.
Verena, Duncan, thanks for having me.
How big's the problem?
Pretty big. Rural communities, access to anything is a challenge, but access to driver licensing in particular is a big challenge.
People are waiting a long time, but also then they get delayed and that sort of thing. How does it impact people in rural community when they get delay after delay after delay?
Well, as you said in your intro, Duncan, you need your licence to do just about anything in a rural community. There's no such thing as public transport in many of our places. So people have to either rely on friends and family to take them places, or they're driving illegally. And of course they get caught and the police, charge them, and then they're up before the courts. And that's the slippery, slidey slope that we know starts the problem of that, of people engaging with our justice system. I think most of the engagement tends to be in the traffic offences.
And has it got worse, this access to driver licensing, availability and tests and appointments? Has it got worse?
Yeah, absolutely. Not enough sites around the country and not enough testing officers. And I know there is a shortage of testing officers, but there's some cool stuff going on. And we are seeing some improvements in some areas.
Right.
What
are some of the worst delays? What are people telling you?
Oh, months and months, 3 to 4 months of delays of getting a test. Simply going and sitting your test, your learner's test, which is an online test, sitting in the likes of VTNZ or AA. You fail. If you don't get an immediate retest, you can wait 3 to 4 months to do your retest.
It's just bloody ridiculous that you can't do it on the spot, that you can't do it an hour later, because people travel, as you say, long distances to get to these things, and getting back there is a mission, and then the time frame is ridiculous. Why can't they just do it in that 24-hour period?
In some cases that can happen, and we do find that if you happen to get strike it lucky and can get the next slot, then you can do your resit, but you've still got to pass it. And if you don't pass it, then you're still having to do yet another resit. And of course, that all costs money as well. Yeah,
I was talking about this a year or so ago with some Onehunga high school students in Auckland. And they're young builders, you see, and they need to go out to the site. But when you've got 8 kids in the family, 1 car, mum and dad are working shift work, they can't. There's no bus that takes them out to, say, Franklin or something like that. They need 4 buses, they've got the tools. It's damn well impossible. I wonder if you need to bring the driver licensing age forward. And how do you staff it properly? I don't know what the answer is.
I know Waka Kotahi have been doing some pilot work on this. In the last 18 months, they've been piloting having community driver testing officers placed in a number of rural communities. And that's sitting alongside other testing officers such as VTNZ and AA. In Far North Reap, which is based in Kaitaia, they've been one of the pilot areas. That pilot's just come to a close, and there's some really awesome results. We've seen testing times drop from 30 days to 6 days in that area.
Yeah, so that's good news, isn't it?
Yeah, but the big thing is, it's not just have more testing officers, you've got to have a good driver education process sitting around it. You know, doing a rinse and repeat, attend a course, go and sit your test is not good enough, because we do see high failure rates. Where you have good pastoral care being wrapped around a person who's trying to get their driver licence, and they're not sitting that licence until they're absolutely ready to sit it, that's where you get the better success rates. And of course, then you're not clogging up the system with having to do retests. That's what reps are really good at.
I wonder if we need to bring this into schools. You know, how old are school kids when they leave college? 16, 17? I would make this a subject. Bring it into the schools. Probably resource it, because driving is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be. It should be part of civics. You know, you need to learn about how to vote. You need to learn about how to be a good citizen. Getting a driver's licence, especially in a rural community, is an important part of that. You talk about getting kids ready for work readiness. Driver licensing is part of that. It's a work-ready skill.
Is cost a barrier?
Can be, but not all the time. I think the cost is high, especially around learner licensing, especially when you consider it's done in an online environment. So I can't see why the cost is as high as it is. That said, cost isn't always the barrier. It is in some whānau for sure, but there is other funding available in some cases to support somebody through the system.
What's your advice to people if they are facing these 2, 3, 4 month delays or whatever to get the licence and they need it because it's an emergency? What do they do? What should they do?
I think they need to engage with a credible provider of education around driver licensing is the first thing. The worst thing they can do is rock up, sit their licence when they're not ready for it. So being ready is one of the key things, because then they're more likely to achieve it. They're more likely to not then have to do a resit. So that's one thing I'd say.
Yeah. Are you hopeful?
Yeah, I am. The testing officer, community testing officer pilot has been successful. I understand that it's likely to be rolled out. Cost is going to be an issue. And when I say cost, I mean the budget allocation for that is going to be the problem. That'll be the challenge given the current economic climate we've got.
Yeah, I can't see the government putting more money into it, but let's hope so. I appreciate your time on the program. All the very best.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Okay, good stuff.
Garner.
Okay, 0800 863 293. Are you one of these people that are facing a delay, and how's it been for you and how frustrating is it? From the Hokianga, you say to me, you've got school buses where I'm from, and it can't get more rural than that. She can't speak for all rural communities because we've got free licence courses here. Okay, that's good. That's good. Duncan, I had to drive 1.5 hours to get a test. Don't forget Kaikohe and Moriwa, is what you're saying to me. The learners isn't that hard. If you're failing, then you should be doing more study, says Dave. Dave also says you can get exceptions on your restricted. And Troy says to me, I'm watching from Marakupa with my 3 kids. Love the show, Dunk. You're talking to me from Marakupa. We're on the lookout for the bloke with his kids as well. If you're texting me from there with kids, maybe you're almost a suspect. Anyway, nice to have your company, folks.
Garner.
If you're a small business owner in New Zealand with big dreams trying to make a living here, I tip my hat to you because I don't think it's that easy. What you might not realise is how many of you there are. 97% of all Kiwi firms are SMEs, and you contribute a whopping 25% towards the country's GDP, so good on you. What was there in the budget for you? Jack all, which to me is one of the biggest oversights that no one's talking about, but it's like this every time, isn't it? There's just nothing in there. I now run a small business myself as a contractor. It's bloody time consuming. I really have no idea what I'm doing. So always seeking advice. But to make it in business, you've got to maximise your outputs, and a new report shows that simply isn't happening. And how often is this the case? Today's Xero Small Business Insights report shows the productivity fell in 2023, with the largest fall in agriculture, which dropped a staggering 12.1%. But it's not all negative. There are some sort of spotlights here, some highlights. Northland's bucking the trend. So what are they doing right? Probably coming off a small base. And what's causing so many other areas to fail? Xero Country Director Bridget Snelling is with us in the studio to explain what is going on with small business, what's happening. Nice to see you. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Yeah. So overall, how's small business looking?
Well, the latest report from our Xero Small Business Insights shows us that at a national level, productivity has fallen 6.1%.
Yep.
So in the past year, all industries and all regions have seen a drop in labour productivity. So it's really tough out there. Things are not
we expected
going
that, didn't we? We're having the country's in recession, so that means GDP is coming backwards. It means we're contracting, right?
Yeah, look, it's not surprising. I think this data set goes from 2017. So we're looking at the past 7 years and pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic.
Right.
And what we can see is that post-pandemic, some regions and industries were doing better than others.
Yes.
But in the last year, all have fallen in productivity. So, that's a worry. And it's especially concerning when we think about the fact that the urban centres have fallen the most, particularly Auckland.
Yes, and after Auckland, the other regions follow too. Agriculture back 12%. What do you put that down to? Because we're still feeding the world, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the weather events last year would have had an impact on agriculture, and that has had the greatest drop. But actually, hospitality is the one that we really probably need to talk about, because out of all of the industries, hospitality is the greatest underperformer in terms of labour productivity.
Well, people don't have the income. But when the Reserve Bank hikes interest rates and all that disposable income gets sucked out and goes to the banks, people are left standing there going, okay, so I better go shopping. You buy the food, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as the movies and the dinners, and that, is there really?
Well, that's right. I mean, we've seen through our data over the course of the last year that sales have fallen for small businesses. So, they're getting squeezed at both ends. Their kind of costs are going up and they're not getting enough in sales. And so that's contributing to this drop in labour productivity.
I mean, I looked at the last Retail New Zealand survey. It was something like 25 or 35% of all businesses, 37% of all businesses don't think they'll be here in a year.
Yeah, I mean,
12,000 shops.
That is so disturbing. And December, which is normally the biggest month for retailers, was actually really bad for them last December. So, it absolutely tells us that we have to do something to support our small business economy.
Okay, so what do we do?
Well, a key part of productivity is around digitalisation. So this is where you become more efficient by using tech and digital tools. We fall behind the OECD average significantly.
Do we?
In Aotearoa. Yeah, we do for labour productivity. And for digitalisation, we've fallen in the digitalisation rankings as well. And so it's really about helping our small businesses become more efficient by doing things that only a human can do.
That's right. So, and we saw a little bit of this growth with through COVID with the digital economy, because suddenly firms had to pivot really quickly, and the doors were closed, but they were able to work out that they could sell these things shortly digitally. So firms that were online and outward focused did well. Others that weren't didn't survive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the report, what we see is Northland is actually a region that's done better post-pandemic. And there's a great case study actually on the Duke of Marlborough Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they've adopted a lot of tech tools to make themselves more efficient, so that they're actually getting more output without having to work longer hours.
That's the answer, isn't it? But they've invested though in that.
Yeah, and that's a key barrier for small businesses, right? Because it's costly, and they also don't know, well, is this the right tech for me? It's really hard. It's complicated to know exactly which is the right tech stack for you, depending on what industry
There's
you're
so
in.
much development of this. There's so much AI now, and there's all these tools, and you wonder, if I'm going to chuck $100,000 into this development, which one am I picking? Am I going to waste this money? Is this going to benefit me? I mean, poor little small business.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, it's kind of decision paralysis, right? I mean, what we're advocating for is for the government to get involved. And we're not talking about handouts and funding everything, although that would help, some tax credits maybe. But, if we look at Singapore, they've got this Go Digital program. And a key part of that is that they have this Chief Technology Officer as a service. So it's basically, helping with education and guidance for small businesses on what they should do.
Where's that here?
Well, it's not. And that's what we're working really
What's
closely.
What's MB got?
Well, there's Digital Boost, which is a start, absolutely. There's content, but it doesn't go far enough. So what we're asking the government for is to actually invest in our small business economy, because like you started off saying, it's the backbone of our economy.
But it is though, and I think most of them, the majority of them fail within the first 3 years. So those who make it, let's knight you, because amazing.
Absolutely. I think we think of ourselves as a country of entrepreneurs and number 8 wire, but actually our small business economy is having a really hard time.
Yeah, they really are. And if you look at their budget, I'll flick through it.
Yeah,
still
nothing.
Looking, yeah.
Nothing for small business, and I did raise that with the Prime Minister at the post-budget lunch last week. But
how'd that go down?
Well, he did say that there are some developments coming, so we wait
What
with
does
bated
that mean?
breath.
What does that- Well, it's a bit like the cancer drugs. Things we forgot to do, they're coming. I feel sorry for small business, and they are laying people off now. You're starting to see this. The retail workers, and now there's one gone, another one gone. I don't know how retail's going to get through this winter.
Yeah, well, business closures are up, right? We see business liquidations are up, all the stats coming out. I mean, it's pretty depressing out there when you listen to the news and you see what's... You're just talking to small businesses, it's tough. They're having a really tough time.
Even big, like the warehouse, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Again, I found myself there last night, 8 o'clock, buying a mouthguard for my son because, lost the third one. And I looked around, there was no one there.
I know.
I was it.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. So I think
it felt like death.
Yeah, well, we've got to take action, right? So as a country, this is the time that we need to actually say enough is enough, and we need to start reinvesting in our small businesses to get them, levelling up in terms of productivity on a world stage.
I reckon capital is one of the biggest issues, because
absolutely
access to some dough. Now, how hard are banks making it to get dough at the moment for small businesses? They don't make it easy, do they?
Well, I mean, it's tough, right? It's tough to get any kind of investment. I think the Treasury have put out a report recently around productivity, and they identify that lack of capital investment is one of the key factors, right? So, there's kind of this myriad factors at play here, but the thing is that there are options, and in a small step, so digital tools, investing, every small business, whether it's just one app that they take that saves them an hour a day, that is a step in the right direction.
What about a tax break for investing in your business? Is there something there, or maybe the business tax rate needs to be looked at?
I think everything needs to be looked at, because we are kind of at crisis point. We are, and it's absolutely, I think the government and small businesses themselves and all of us need to be thinking about, well, what can we do? What can we do to make things easier for small businesses?
Yeah. Hey, really well said. We'll get you on again, Appreciate it.
Love that. Thank you.
Good stuff. Take care.
Garner.
0800 863 293 is the number. Lots of texts coming in. Duncan, you're a Maori hater, says Stephen. I'm a Maori hater. And then Davis said, how so when his kids are Maori? Why am I a Maori hater? Caleb, can I? You're Maori. Is that how you view me?
Yeah, I'm proudly Te Whanāpanui. May not look it as a tall, white, blonde guy, but very proud of my heritage.
Do you call yourself blonde or strawberry blonde?
Definitely not strawberry blonde, mate. I would definitely not class you as a Maori hater.
Yeah, it's sort of come out of the blue, isn't it?
That is bizarre.
Yeah.
I've watched your stuff for a long time, and before working for you, I thought, but now, having worked with you, I'm like, this guy is... Duncan's just a nice guy, people. He's like everyone else. He's out here trying, okay? He's not a Maori hater. Jesus, I wouldn't work here if he was a Maori hater.
Yeah, so if you see Caleb leave, it might be confirmation, but he's not going anywhere. Okay, good stuff. Thanks for your feedback, by the way. And Dave, thanks for sorting it out for me.
3 questions from the editor-in-chief.
And that is me. And
1.
At number 1, what do you think this will reveal? Finance Minister Nicola Willis has ordered an inquiry into the state of rural banking in New Zealand, how well served we are in the sticks, and if there's much competition. I reckon I can predict the outcome of this. The major banks walked away from small-town New Zealand yonks ago when the internet took over, and they've saved millions and millions of dollars as a result of all these branches closing down, made record profits. And with an ageing population, some oldies are bewildered by internet banking and just want their friendly bank back. Friendly? When was the bank friendly?
2.
At number 2 today is RNZ, the state-funded broadcaster, trying too hard to be cool and down with the people. They have dropped a couple of words they normally would be horrified about. Now, Colin Peacock would have to jump on his high horse and ride his Media Watch program to the boss's door at Radio New Zealand for a please explain. Now, the words were mofo, as in motherfucker. And the phrase, I kiss him on the neck and he kisses me on my bussy. I have no idea what you're talking about there, but for clarification, I'm using the words because if they do, and we don't as a live podcast, then effectively shoot me now.
3.
And at number 3 today, this is interesting, this one. Are men that look like rats hot? Now, yes, apparently they are. The internet is assigning unusual labels to men again. We're used to this. This time by fawning over how rodent-like they are. Hot rodent men are apparently in season, according to a flurry of social media posts, defining a new category of unconventionally hot blokes. Now, these men tend to have more angular facial structures, beady eyes, untidy hair, and are often tall. Essentially, they have what could be described as vaguely rat-like facial features. I think I'm the opposite. I'm not sure. Is that a good thing or not? Anyway, good morning.
Duncan, Garner.
Forrester might be rodent. Forrester.
Do I fit in the rat category?
I don't know. You could do, couldn't you?
I could do. Yeah, I don't know. I saw the thing that like every man falls into a different kind of category of...
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that. Hey, you had trouble with the license testing too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Well, I mean, like first of all, I'm lazy, so I haven't needed to get a license recently.
Yes.
Because I live in Auckland, and of course, public transport, I just walk everywhere and bus everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
You've been delayed. You've been delayed, haven't you?
Well, I was looking at it the other day, and it was like 3 or 4 months out. I thought about going to Hamilton to do it, or Thames. That was the suggestion.
It's not that bad, is it?
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, I don't want to wait 3 or 4 months. I just want to get it.
Oh, well, we'll see what we can do for you. Come and, we'll see what we can argy-bargy someone. Okay, thank you, Forrester.
Duncan, Garner.
The one at upper town of Carterton is grappling over a proposal to erect a life-sized bronze statue of former Mayor and MP, the late Georgina Beyer. The cost is about $500,000. None of this is ratepayers' money, so don't stress about that. World famous, she's the first openly transgender member of Parliament anywhere. But the idea to erect this memorial has the town divided, confused, but angry, and all of the above, really. They're grappling with it, so to speak. I liked her. I got on with her well, and I thought she was a good MP. Ronnie Mark is the mayor, and also acknowledged as the second best halfback ever to play for the parliamentary rugby team. And he's copying it. He's copying it from both sides. And he joins me now. Ron, we got you there?
Oh, good morning. Can you hear me, Duncan?
I got you loud and clear. Yeah, was that unfair? Second best?
Yeah, you keep saying that, Duncan. But I got to tell you, you're a good halfback, and I acknowledge that, mate. You're a good halfback. We had some good games together. Particularly that police one where you had a bit of a discussion with the policeman.
I got punched in the head and I got black eyes. That's what happened.
Well, I wasn't going to say that.
I turned around and you guys were watching.
Not very good form for a policeman, was it?
No. Hey, so what's the go with the statue? I've seen your comments. You have really reasonable, decent comments around this. What's the go?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. So if we back up a tad, clearly the town as it was back in the day when Georgie was making a name as a councillor, and it was, got to remember, Duncan, it was pretty controversial for the centre right wing rural provincial electorate like the Wairarapa to within a part of it to elect Georgie as a councillor. But then she did a cracking job, and people admired and respected her, and she stood for the Merits, and she blitzed it. And then, as you know, beyond that, she went up against Paul Henry. That didn't end well for Paul, and she beat him, took out a blue ribbon national seat, formerly the seat of Wyatt Creech, the Deputy Prime Minister, and became a Wairarapa MP, not once, but twice. And, so I take from that people around here look past her transgender and her personal history. She was always up front. She wrote a book, exposed all, told everybody the whole story. And that's what I loved about Georgie. She's totally up front. On the Maori question, I heard you talking about that. I mean, Georgie was pretty clear. She never stood on the Maori roll. She didn't want a bar of Maori seats.
Yes.
And she was, you could say a conservative socialist. And I think people around here respected her. And so fast forward to when she passed, Matt and Rosie Carter, two very well-known personalities in Carterton, the Carter family. They allowed one of their streets in a subdivision they were doing to be named Georgina Beyer Way, which we're just over the moon at. But again, people saying that's not enough. We really need to recognise Georgie for everything she did nationally, internationally, for the person she was, and the propositions put up. Let's build a statue, which I actually support. But comes down to money. But there are some people, some who are new to Carterton, who've expressed their view that they don't think it's appropriate and not right now, and it's a lot of money to spend, and it's actually not their money. People are going to raise it, privately.
Yeah, so if it's private money, if the private money, the land's available, the argument would be don't waste too much time at council debating it.
Yeah, well, with the proposition that was put to council meeting, I think back March or somewhere around then, was that council lend some support to helping the group who want to raise the money, just some staff time. But that got voted down at the council meeting. It surprised me a tad. But I mean, it won't stop from there, because my sense is that the public support and those who've lived in Carterton most of their life and those who've lived in the Wairarapa respect Georgina for what she did. And I think those new folks to the district will come to realise that you need to acknowledge people who have achieved against all odds. You, Duncan, you know her upbringing, you know of her background and the struggles she had, quite aside from the gender thing, the way she was raised as a child, which I had a great affinity with. So too to John Banks, by the way, because John Banks, myself and Georgie, we're all from here, and we all unfortunately have a very similar childhood and upbringing.
It might be a bit of a focal point too. People might stop and have a look at it. If it's life size, it'll be a reasonable size unit, it might be a talking point. People stop, but spend some money in the town. What's the bad thing?
Come and help me, Doug.
Hey?
You're on point. Like it's you think of the statue. Who's the character from Rocky Horror Picture Show up in Hamilton? It's a tourist attraction. It's where people go, and those who are like me and probably you, I guess, who love Rocky Horror, you look at that statue, you go, yeah, that's a Kiwi who achieved great things, and we respect and admire that and tip your hat. And I believe that would happen. If I look across at the Labour caucus here in New Zealand, former and past Labour MPs and former and past Labour MPs in Australia and Britain, why wouldn't they want to contribute? And why would they not want to recognise Georgina? And more broadly speaking, why would parliamentarians not want to contribute? Why would arts, culture and heritage not want to contribute? Why would people not want to support? And what would that do for Carterton? People would stop and go, we all know we struggle to compete with places like Martinborough and Greytown and that. There's only one place in the world that Georgina Beyer was the mayor.
Yeah.
And it was here.
So just very quickly, yes or no, do you think it'll happen?
Yeah, I'm an optimist. I think it will happen. And I think, but it's a process where we've just got to get out and talk to people. But of course, people are not going to stop. They're going to raise the money. I talked to all Georgina's trustees and her friends and her the ones who are close to her. I won't say whānau. The ones who are really close to her and who nursed her and looked after her all those final days, and they're adamant that they're going to keep working on this, and I'm there to support them.
Good on you, Roddy. Hey, nice to see you, mate. All the best, and keep in touch. I appreciate your time on the program.
Well, Duncan, same phone number hadn't changed.
Okay, good on you, mate.
Garner.
Okay, 0800 863 293 is the number. We'll do a slam dunk shortly. Dave, I think we've got Dave on the line. He's our man. Dave's our man. How you doing, mate?
Morning, Duncan. How you doing?
Very well, sir.
I just want to say real quick, thank you for essentially providing a talk backstage that isn't radicalised like NZ Talkback.
Yeah.
It's hard to call in and deal with those people. Ideologues are difficult to deal with. But I have some points I want to pontificate on.
Yep.
Like the other night, ACT MP Simon Court says the government isn't transferring wealth like Labor did, except the richest 40% of families in New Zealand will get the tax cuts, poorest get nothing. How is that okay? And isn't that a transfer of wealth?
Yeah, well, no, it is. You ask a question, I'll answer it. It is a wealth transfer, but Labor probably had one of the biggest wealth transfers to the rich that they didn't intend to do, and that was during COVID when the property prices went up by 30%. The wealthiest New Zealanders got all that paper wealth, I suppose, on paper wealth from a Labor government. Thank you very much.
But can you blame Labor on can you blame COVID on Labor?
No.
Labor didn't let COVID out. This is a national tactic as well. It's to blame Labor for everything. And I'll be honest, I'm real sick of it.
Yeah, it happens every time.
How long?
It happens every time.
All the time about Labor bad.
Yeah, but do you remember when Phil Twyford said we've had 9 long years of national? He keeps saying it for a couple of years. So both sides do this. Both sides are guilty. They're both a pack of pricks most of the time.
That is true. But another point is, if national is... I have a problem with the hypocrisy. They say consultants bad. They just spent $1 million on 2 consultants for a tunnel in Wellington. It isn't going to happen.
Yeah, I know. Hey, but not just that. Stephen Joyce and Bill English are doing what for this government? Consulting. You know?
Consulting, yeah. And they get paid. Big money.
Huge
money.
Also,
they go on about borrowing money. Labor borrowed money. In this budget, they've borrowed more than Grant Robinson did annually.
Hey, we've spent $3.5 billion more than Labor did last year. So if you think this is a tightwad government, they just reprioritise things to suit themselves, and that's what governments do. That's about choice of priorities.
And definitely, cancer patients are not a priority. Landlords were priority number 1.
Yeah, no,
not
we heard that.
Patient.
We saw that.
Potholes. You know, to quote someone from the Working Group podcast the other night, a cancer patient said, at least when I get taken to the morgue, the hearse won't have to go through potholes.
Yeah. Hey, good on you, Dave. Appreciate your time on the program, mate. You always make some really good points. That Working Group, what a great podcast, too. You must catch up with that one as well. It is 0800 863 293. A very good morning to you.
Garner.
Some really good comments coming through today, too. Morning, team, says Bradock's yet again enjoying listening and watching. And David said to me, David said to another couple of guys who were texting here, you're talking mad shit last night, leave Duncan alone. That's good. Maori hater. Why would you call me that? I'm sort of bewildered by that anyway. Thanks for your feedback this morning. Duncan, look at this stuff here. That's all. What are they saying on TikTok, Forrester?
Georgina is the epitome of who we are in our country.
What is she?
Saying, well, that's the feedback on that that statue, I believe.
You know, she was a battler. I got to know her really well at Parliament. She was a battler. I was there. We were filming the day that she took on Brian Tamaki in front of Parliament. So she's hey, imagine being her.
Yeah.
Imagine that life. Just put yourself in those shoes.
Georgina needs a town named after her, not just a statue.
Byerville. Hey?
Exactly.
Hey?
Appreciate Duncan. He's the man.
Yeah, okay. More of that, please, Forrester. Thanks, mate.
I'll bring you more of those ones.
Good on you, mate. That's your instruction. Cheers, eh?
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, so New Zealand, I think we need a serious conversation about where we are heading and what we're trying to achieve at the moment. Because right now we are tearing ourselves apart. We're fighting amongst ourselves. You know, our economy is going backwards. Interest rates are through the roof, that sort of thing, stubbornly high. Unemployment's rising. Our confidence is in free fall. I look out to the world and I see them getting on with it, basically. In short, we've lost our way, and economically and socially, we're going backwards, I reckon. And at times like this, we have to band together, and the common goal must be a common goal for Pākehā, for Maori, for Pacific, Asian, for all New Zealanders. We must be focused on our collective prosperity. Only we can get ourselves out of this mess, so we need to rethink how we're going to do it. We've got to stop the rot. We have to put an end to this totally unnecessary, pointless, divisive race debate that has come at the worst time ever. Frankly, we don't have time for it, nor do we need it. And there are barely enough of us here anyway to power out of this recession, so we don't need to be divided. The last thing we need is a stupid, pointless bun fight. which we all know takes us down a dead-end street and we go nowhere. We all know this. We've lived side by side for close on 200 years. We're young and there are grievances, and there has been a collective agreement largely to put all that right. And we have, and we still are, we're fighting all this. We can't turn the clock back. Countries worldwide were colonised to all sorts of degrees. And we should be proud of where we've got to. I know there's a lot of room to go, but God knows, why would anyone now wish to see two separate systems? Go that way like the Maori Party suggesting and tell me how it's not heading towards some sort of apartheid South Africa. They can't even keep the power on in those countries. So let's not go there. Maori for years have fought so damn hard to be part of the system, and they are there, either in government or close, the ministers around the cabinet table or outside the cabinet. And those jobs, and I've seen these, they carry the highest influence in the land. Now you want to step away and create your own system? It is a recipe for economic and social collapse. And watch New Zealand empty out as a response. It's total knee-jerk, over-the-top reactionary stuff. To something that ain't broken, I urge both sides to call off their dogs. And to Christopher Luxon, put David Seymour in his place and call off the review of this treaty. It's a dog whistle disaster of a policy that can only end up, all things going badly, with some kind of civil war, however that might be. And at Aori Waititi, you have to take Māori out of this grievance mode. I personally think that you're too aggressive, I think you're too divisive, and you're pining for some kind of fight. I think it's irresponsible. Your criticism of the budget as a Pākehā budget for Pākehā people and the Pākehā economy is equally as dog whistling and irresponsible. And it's quite frankly wrong. Amongst the billions spent in the budget, Māori will get superannuation. They get all the benefits that Pākehā get. They'll get tax cuts. They'll get health services, education. They get funding of the Kohanga Reo and the Kura Kaupapa Māori schools. The funding, it's more than what Labour spent by $3.5 billion. It's not a Pākehā budget, and you know it. It gives tens of millions to Matatini, which is the Kapahaka National Championships, money for Māori language to survive and thrive. To say it's a Pākehā budget makes you look brain dead, mate. And I know you're not. You've said it to stir up Māori who listen to you, and some of them take you seriously and take their cue from you. And you couldn't be more wrong. Equally on the other side, Prime Minister, what's wrong with a few Māori words? Come on, mate. English dominates our society, and it's triggering to Māori to have their language demeaned. My son's grandparents, who are still alive, were sent home and whacked for speaking Māori in school. So let's not go there again. We're proud of the haka. We sing the anthem in both languages. Māori want the same for their kids as Pākehā, as Pacific, and as Asian parents. We can live side by side and compromise on what it is that we all want. But drop the dog whistle and the focus unrelentingly on the economy's got to start again. Getting us all back on the horse. Lose inflation, not lose a language. That's uniquely only here in New Zealand. If we don't keep it alive, it dies. Come on. We simply don't have time for this race crap. Māori have guaranteed seats in Parliament, and there's been consensus about that for a long time. That largely, for decades, no one honestly blinks about it. So why potentially take away guaranteed Māori seats at the local body level? It stirs things up. And Māori having a couple of seats around the council table every time, what's the big deal? That's what co-governance looks like. What are we scared of? The damage is done, though. New Zealand citizens are leaving the country in record numbers. They're fed up with all this sort of nonsense. And frankly, we can't afford to lose our best and brightest, but we are. It's the biggest brain drain ever in New Zealand since records were kept. Stats New Zealand says there were an estimated 130,000 migrant departures in the year to April, the highest on record for an annual period ever. Of those leaving the country on a long-term basis, an estimated 80,000 were New Zealand citizens, 41% increase on last year. It's phenomenal. Half of those went to Aussie. Yet despite the loss of these good Kiwis, we didn't reduce in size as a country. Oh no, there was an annual net migration gain of almost 100,000. It's massive. Absolutely massive. New Zealanders entered the country, but the migrants arrived in big numbers from India. The largest group was India, Philippines, China. For the first time ever, India has topped the list of those entering New Zealand. 60-odd thousand, and it's our young people, New Zealanders leaving. My niece and her BF are off this week. We had dinner with them the other night. They're gone. They may not be back. I doubt they'll be back. My mum said goodbye to her granddaughter, possibly for the final time. The opportunities are so much better compared to the place that New Zealand now finds itself at. And with an ageing population, and if young people who are taxpayers are leaving, then this could spell trouble and disaster for New Zealand down the track. Sure, we are replacing these Kiwis with new migrants, but the rules have been so loose we barely know anything about who's coming into the country. We barely know them. Why they're here, we don't know, and what skills they have, we have no idea. So as we build this place, again, forget the infighting. It's got no place. And if we're honest, we've got so much more to do, and we've got bigger fish to fry. Right? I think we have.
Garner.
Okay, that is us, folks. Thanks for all your feedback. You're saying to me you want a longer show. That'd be awesome. We need a longer show. I'm looking at Miranda. I'm looking at Miranda's thinking, have we got more help? This is us. Thanks so much, folks. This will be available as a podcast on Rover shortly, and wherever you get your podcast, we'll be there. Thanks for all your feedback. A lot of feedback today, really impressive. And also to my team, thank you so much. I'm Duncan at rover.nz. To my team, Caleb, Miranda, Forrester and Zarina, thank you so much, guys. We'll do it all again tomorrow. And remember, there's no dress rehearsal. This is it. There's no curtain raiser. We all live in one of the best places on earth, so let's get out and enjoy it, respect it, and have a great day. Take care, New Zealand.
That was Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief Live. Missed something on the live stream? Text Duncan to 3598 to listen back on the podcast. Want to get in touch? Call 0800 863 293.